speaker before the... Okay. Ines Crisostomo, we are happy to have you. You are from the University of Luxembourg. Ines, do you hear me, right?
Yes, I do, but I was muted. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
Welcome. Ines is the mentoring program coordinator in the Gender Equality Office at the University of Luxembourg. And we're welcoming you.
Thank you very much. I'm just trying to see how I can share my screen and keep seeing you, hopefully. Because this
I think you probably won't be able to see us.
Yeah, the notes, but the PowerPoint automatically opens these notes things, and that covers my whole screen. Anyway, can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. I was not sure how to organize this presentation, to be very, very honest. So I've put different things here about mentoring and women as mentors and women as mentees in STEM. So for me, mentoring, it's all about people and making connections. And that is extremely important because that's where I get my energy from. And that's where I do most of my learning. As a learner, I learn in groups and I learn with others much better than I learn about myself alone. And so I've divided this presentation in different parts because I do feel that I have different hats when we talk about mentoring. The first hat I would like to bring to you is mentoring, my role as a mentoring program manager at the University of Luxembourg. So we are a very, very new program. We got a lot of inspiration from France and Femmes en Sciences and others, and other programs across Europe. We're also part of UMentNet, and I will mention that in a minute. I've talked to Julie a lot, so it was really big inspiration. We started roughly 2 years ago, maybe a little bit longer now. Time flies because 3 years ago, we kicked off on the 8th of March with a pilot. Yes, that's true. So it was already 3 years ago. Time really flies. And we kicked off advanced mentoring. So advanced mentoring comes as part of our gender equality plan. In Europe, it's now basically mandatory that all institutions have a gender equality plan. Ours started a little bit before it was mandatory by having a gender audit at the University of Luxembourg, and the gender audit revealed a lot of disproportions that what Katerina mentioned also very well, that are not unique to Luxembourg, but rather to science in general. And the mentoring program comes up as one of the actions after the audit to try to work and promote gender equality. We are taking the EMCC definition of mentoring. So we're taking mentoring as learning conversations. And what we're trying to do is to create spaces where there's these structured conversations happen. We are hoping that we go beyond the individual gain. So I believe both people gain from this relationship, both the mentee and the mentor. We're also hoping that these duos then can also bring more to the community and bring help within the community spirit of connecting between different institutions and between different entities at the university, and promote a culture of collaboration and engagement. And also, as already mentioned, a culture where everybody feels they belong. And we don't have to fix ourselves to be here, but we are just part of the community. So this is our why. How we are doing it, we have different formats that we call strands. One of them is a circle strand, so group mentoring. This is aimed at PhD candidates. And we have it once every semester. We started with women-only groups. This semester, we will open for the first time a mixed group. And the idea is to have a women-only group in one semester and a mixed group in another semester. So these are PhD candidates, and these are internal mentors from the university, and they meet 4 to 5 times during the semester. What is really good about this format, I believe, is that the learning comes not only from the mentors sharing, but also from the peers sharing. And we've received very, very good feedback. It's very focused on career development, on role modeling, on sharing experiences, and creating spaces, again, where people can ask questions. Our other strand is focused more on postdocs or senior PhD students. So this is more thinking about career transitions from either senior PhDs to postdoc or another step, or from postdocs to assistant professors. Again, the program started as a way to promote academic careers. What we see in practice is that many of our participants are not sure if they want to stay in academia. So often the questions are about, do I want to stay in academia or do I want to do something else? If it's something else, what can I do? What we're doing here, again, is with internal mentors. So like Julie, we are trying to match people from different departments or different institutes across the university. And to promote that, we have conversations. The matching is done in a workshop style speed dating format. I can tell you more about that if you want it. I find that it's a very simple but effective way to do it. So we haven't had any problems with or any major issues with the pairs. And regarding the matching, I really like this quote by Simon Sinek saying that relationships are like seat belts. They need to click for people to feel safe. And I really like this analogy with the safety because, yes, mentoring is about creating a space where people can be honest and can have the confidence to share and to listen. So the postdocs is now a yearly call, and the program runs for 6 months, more or less, with individual conversations and networking events and training. Then we have a faculty strand. This has not yet fully kicked off. We have a pilot, but we haven't quite figured out the right format to do it. So I don't have a lot of experience yet on this group. The other thing we're doing is to facilitate peer group mentoring. And here it's very varied. It depends on who approaches us and says that they would like to try it within their group or within their entity. So we had, for example, women in the physics department. We also had women from more the support staff, from the research facilitation staff who came together. We had from our leadership program that they would follow up the leadership program with a peer group. So this has been a little bit more diverse. In a nutshell, what are we doing? We are connecting people, onboarding, so training mentors and mentees to make sure that they have the right expectations. Julie was very detailed in explaining this workshop, which I find absolutely fantastic. And we're trying to do similar things again for people to understand what mentoring can do for them, what is expected, but also what are the values behind it. Luxembourg also has a mentoring charter. And then to promote reflections and learnings through mentoring conversations, through workshops to capacitate, and through community building. One thing that we're doing more and more is this networking also across outside the university with different partners from different sectors to promote that the academics meet with professionals from other sectors if they are considering careers outside of academia. And then at the end of each program, we try to have a reflection on what worked and what didn't work. This year, we will actually introduce a mandatory, let's see how it goes. I don't really like mandatory things, a mandatory reflective assignment, so where the mentees will have to submit to us a short narrative on what they took from the program. I find this for the learning process is really important for them to reflect and actually put down in words what they've learned. And from my perspective as a program manager, it helps us to evaluate the program and to make sure that the program is aligned with the best practices and so on. And we collect feedback, of course. So as I mentioned before, for my own learning, when I started this journey as a program manager, I looked out for other programs around that I could learn from. and I found HumanNet, and it was actually through Ekaterina, the president of HumanNet, that I am here today. And I get peer mentoring also from this experience, right? Because here I can share and with other colleagues from other countries, their experiences. We have expert exchanges, we have meetings. If you're interested, there's going to be a meeting in Düsseldorf in May. I leave here the link, and I can also put it then on the chat. There's also published documents on how to establish mentoring, on best practices, on what different offices are doing. I have to say the HumanNet is based on gender equality offices. So most of the programs, if not all, are coming from the gender equality policies or offices across different European institutions. Now, because I started managing, or maybe not because I started managing a program, but I've also taken the role as a mentor. So that is my other hat. My other hat is as a mentor, and I've been volunteering in different groups. For example, there's a Mothers in Science network that I'm working as a mentor, but also in the research development network based in the UK. And there's another that I'm now. And as an alumna from the institution where I did my PhD, I'm also a mentor there. I knew that was a third one. So what do I do as a mentor? So this is the other hat, because the title of this conference today was Women in STEM, Women Mentors, Women Mentees. So who am I when I am a mentor? When I am a mentor, my goal is to create a safe space, a space of trust, and to listen. I think that is the main role that I can do, to really listen, not listen to answer, but listen to understand. And this is also part of the training I do with the mentors in the program that I manage. I think it's completely different when we listen to try to give an answer or to try to give a solution than when we listen to understand. That's for me the key thing about mentoring, and it comes also from my coaching background that I bring to this program. I thought it was interesting that Julie used the same images. As a mentor, I have to be very much aware of perceptions and biases or assumptions that I'm making or that the other person is making. I had an experience where I was mentoring someone who was very, very different from me. It went really well, but I felt the first session, we were really just trying to understand each other. It was a little bit like we're speaking different languages, I felt, but in the end, it worked really beautifully. And I think we became friends, and we will stay connected. But yes, as a mentor, I have to be always very much aware of any biases or assumptions. As a mentor, I also try to structure conversations so that the conversations are not just kind of not going anywhere. It's not about going for a beer with a friend. It's not about just venting. It's about having a structured conversation and trying to promote actions, or trying to promote confidence, or trying to promote competencies. So it's very important to discuss the goals and the expectations. And I always try not to advise, but to share perspectives. So my point is not, you should not do this, or don't, or why don't you do this? Is not, maybe if it was me, I would try this. And this type of language, I think, makes a huge difference. So that's how I try to think about it. I also always keep in mind that it's about the mentees agenda. The conversations are not about me. So that is not a space for me to share all the time, but to listen and really try to understand. I like this parallel with the seed, right? We are, as mentor, I'm watering a plant, I'm promoting its growth, I'm helping it to grow, but it's not up to me to, it's not about growing myself. Of course, I always learn and I always take something out of these relationships, but it's the mentee's time. And then when I came to these, I started to also think about my role as a mentee. And I never really took part in a structured mentoring program as a mentee myself. But looking back and reflecting back, I have had many, many different people in my career that were mentors in a more informal way, maybe. So I went to the US to do my PhD. And at the time, this was 2000, the PhD education was in the US was very different than in Europe. And I found that the structure of the dean for the whole structure of the institution provided much more mentoring beyond the supervision, or more opportunities for mentoring, because there was the classes, there was the committees, there were even the cohort, which I thought was a brilliant idea. And that's actually influenced me a lot of my different career changes, which I will get to in a minute. Being a mother also changed me. And as a mother, I also looked for mentors in different ways. Again, very informally, but by joining groups of moms or baby and me gyms or things like this, I got a lot of information and I learned a lot just by sharing. And I go back to my first comment, which is, for me, it's about connecting with other people that I can share and I can learn with. After my PhD, I returned to Portugal and I decided to change gears. And so I started working in coordinating doctoral education programs, so working for PhD students. And this, again, was very influenced at the time by my experience in the US and the fact that in Portugal, this was still very rare. Right now, there's doctoral schools across Europe and those are very common, but in the early 2000s, that was not the case. And in this new role, I had two other colleagues who were scientists like me that were changing gears and working different aspects of, I would say, the backstage of science. And we learn a lot from each other. So these mentors stayed with me until today, and they are peer mentors for sure. Changing countries, again, there were people that were instrumental to help me learn. And the last change when I come to Luxembourg was a very difficult one, because it was an obvious change, but professionally, I had to reinvent myself. And here I reached out to people. I found people that could help me. And in my new role as a program manager in mentoring, what I did was I searched for a mentor myself. So I now have a structured mentor, not a program, but I have a mentor with more formal conversations. This is what I wanted to maybe draw a little bit of a parallel. What is informal or peer mentoring or more structured? It's when I'm talking about informal mentors that I had throughout my life, it's about listening to understand. It's about keeping an eye open to opportunities, surrounding yourself by people who inspire you. And this was already said, but also be able to be vulnerable and share and take time to think and reflect about our own learnings. In a structured conversation, I think it's really important to know what I need, to find out and reach out to people that can help, to take action, but again, to track and reflect on my learning. So this taking the time to think is something that is on the mentee, and it's important. And that's why, as a program manager, we are now bringing this reflective narrative on board. I was thinking, because I always think about what are the take-home messages. For me, the take-home messages of mentoring is that it's all about learning about yourself, learning how to act in a challenging situation, learning about leaving your comfort zone. It's also about curiosity, about listening to understand, about not taking assumptions, about asking questions, again, because we don't know and we don't assume that we know. And as I said, it's about safety. It's about these safe spaces where we can speak openly without judgment, without fear of repercussions. And often also safety in terms of, let's say, economic safety, even about having the chance to be able to take risks and to go about it. Not this protected time is not always a given. So that was a little bit about me and my journey into mentoring. This is some references. Thank you so much for the invitation. I would love to discuss. Again, for me, it's all about the connection and the questions. So what is on your mind? Do I stop sharing? Yeah.
Thank you so
stop
much,
sharing
Ines.
so that I can see you. But if you want,
Yeah.
I can go back to the slides.
We can't see each other. Thank you very much again for being with us today. Very interesting presentation. Thank you again. Just a quick question because we're pretty, we are a little bit late. So my question is, how do you evaluate if, mentoring activity was successful? If a mentor has been successful or has been efficient in his work or her work with her mentee?
That's an excellent question. We base ourselves in perception. So at the end of each cycle of each cohort of mentoring, we have a feedback that goes to both the mentor and the mentees. And we also run some interviews, one-on-one interviews to get their perceptions. One of the questions in the feedback is, what did you learn? And this question prompts and I always get also answers from the mentors. This question prompts them, if they haven't think about it, to actually think about what was their learning. And again, I'm hoping also that this year with the narratives, I would get a little bit more of that. I went through that exercise myself when I was getting accreditation to be a program manager. And I find that writing things down really helps us to consolidate our learnings and to move forward. We have other ways of measuring that will be more long-term. So I mentioned that the mentoring program starts with a gender audit at the university. That was 5 years ago. This year, we will run another gender audit. And we want to see if there was any differences compared to 5 years ago that we could measure on terms of the individual perceptions, but also with all the aggregated data. What I find that has been a very interesting impact, positive impact, is because we are working mainly with internal mentors and mixing people or matching people across different departments and entities at the university. We got already very good feedback that people were just knowing more about their colleagues in other departments, so it's extremely positive. And we get this from both mentors and mentees. So we feel that we are really having an impact at the community level, which is very important.
And quickly, another question, and I'll finish. I'll stop there. I have many questions. Do you think that somebody who has not been mentored, who never participated in a program, in a structured program of mentoring, for instance, myself also, I never been mentored, I have never participated, and even now I'm looking for a mentor too. Do you think somebody like that could be a good mentor itself or herself if you've never been mentored?
I don't think. I would challenge you that you have been mentored, as I was mentored, and we would just never put that thing above it. So we never call it mentoring. But I would argue that all of us have found people that inspire us, that have helped us learn, helped us through a challenging moment, or helped us make a decision. Maybe it was not a structured conversation, and maybe it was more this peer or informal mentoring, but that I think we all have. I think the main characteristic a person needs to have to be a good mentor is the ability to listen without judgment and to create this safe space. One of the feedbacks that I get from the mentors that I'm working with is that it's a very big, I would say, relief to them, knowing that they don't have to have the answers. And thus just being there and listening has a huge impact on their mentees. And this is something that we've seen several times now. We do provide training for mentors, so the mentors do not go in without any training, and that is important. That's also very along the EMCC guidelines for good mentoring programs. I think everybody agrees on that. So I think it's a little bit like science communication. Science communication done wrong can promote even more stereotypes, and mentoring done wrong can promote even more self-doubt.
Can be worse. Yes, I totally agree with you.
So there is, of course, an element of training or onboarding the mentors. And then it's really about the time and the ability to listen. That would be my opinion.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ines. Thank you very much to everyone for being with us. Amanda, I think we'll stop here, right, for the lunch break?
Yes, I'll stop just a moment.
Okay.